Hello and welcome to GoodCast, a podcast produced by Goodwill Industries of Fort Worth, where we take a closer look at the story behind the store and highlight success stories that have been made possible thanks to the generous donations of everyday people. I'm your host, Justin Martinez. September 15th through October 15th is National Hispanic Heritage Month, so today we're sitting down with Rosemary Cruz, our Vice President of Donated Goods and Retail, to talk about her role in the company, her experience in the community, and about representation in the career field. I'm very excited for y'all to hear this episode, so let's get started. Hi, Rosemary.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me today.
So I guess first things first, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Rosemary Cruz, and I am the Vice President of Donated Goods and Retail here for Goodwill Industries of Fort Worth. I've been in this role probably about 6 to 7 years, transitioning from a retail director. But as far as my personal self, I'm a Fort Worth native. I was born and raised here in Fort Worth, and so grew up here, and I like to say that I grew up here at Goodwill also.
Was retail director your first position here?
Well, actually, I've had many roles here at Goodwill, but I was a retail director probably for about 12 years prior to transitioning to the VP role. Okay. And prior to that, I did some store manager work for some time. And then when I first got hired on, we actually were opening the retail store here at the campus location. And I remember at the time, the director at the time, her name was Erin, and she was such a fun lady to work for. She said, well, I'm doing all the hiring, and I'm hiring everyone as a cashier. And then I will pick my management team from the group. So I was like, wow, okay. So I rolled with it, and luckily for me, that was a really smart decision because I was able to work my way up very quickly. And as you can see, I'm still here at Goodwill. I love what I do. It's so flexible, especially when I was younger and raising children.
Okay, so you've seen how Goodwill operates at pretty much every level then.
Yes, I have.
So was that management position like your first leadership position?
Within Goodwill, yes. Prior to Goodwill, I worked in the medical field, so I had some leadership roles within doctors' practices and whatnot. And it was totally different, obviously, going from medical to retail. But if you think about it, in the end, I've always had a role or a job that I was servicing people. And so I'm very people oriented. And I think that's where I made the connection and really was interested in how I think at the time I was just searching for my purpose and a career where I could actually do that.
Did you know a lot about Goodwill as far as like programs and services before you applied, or did you see it as more like this is a thrift store that helps locally?
You know, I actually did not know anything about Goodwill prior to me applying. I did a little bit of research when I was introduced to Goodwill by a former employee that mentioned, to me all the opportunities. And, one of the things that I guess was a selling point for me at the time was, okay, so we have retail, and then we have the mission services side, mm-hmm. and just all the logistics, here in the warehouse, the behind the scenes, so to speak, operations. I just felt like I could go either way. And since, growing up, being a teenager and so forth, I did do a lot of like retail jobs. So I was familiar with retail, and I thought, well, okay, I could use that as the stepping stone to get in and then kind of decide which direction I wanted to go. Because again, I always knew I wanted to serve people in some capacity, but at that time, I just wasn't sure what that looked like. And so I ran with it, and so here we are today.
Yeah, no, I think that room for growth and kind of exploration in your career field is why you see so many people here stay for like 15, 20 years.
Yes.
So let's talk about your position now. What are some of the duties that you carry out on a daily basis, that sort of thing?
Okay, so I have about 7 direct reports, and I work with them very closely. And then, and these are retail directors, donated good directors, a logistics manager, and data analyst manager. And I work with these individuals um, to sort of lay out the goals for the department, because a lot of the departments I oversee, they kind of marry each other. So you almost, if I have a project, it usually will involve 2 or 3 of the areas to be able to accomplish the goal or the project. Overall, the retail, just the DGR department, I want to say pre-pandemic, we had about almost 600 employees under my umbrella.
Mm-hmm. Right. So a lot of people know that the retail aspect of Goodwill is what funds our programs and services. But at the end of the day, sales numbers aren't necessarily your number one priority because you have to work with so many different departments and so many different people.
Yeah, and that is an important part of the retail operation, obviously, because we do have to make a profit to be able to fund all of the programs and services that we offer. But my motto is kind of people first, and then sell second. And other people may listen to that and they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, she's crazy." But it really has worked out well in my department, because I think if your team, from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top, if they see that you care, and if they see that you're a leader of action, and a leader of support, and a leader that listens to them, and incorporates their thoughts or suggestions, obviously when it's applicable and things like that, then they're going to work really hard for you and champion, to make sure that we each succeed, and in turn we all succeed as an organization.
Yeah, David calls it the Goodwill Family, and I think your department, and I say that with the understanding of, as you said, you have 600 employees at any given time pre-pandemic. Y'all are so good about connecting with employees and everything. I feel like from the bottom up, you know almost everybody's name, which is so strange to me. That's so many people.
It is. And that it's funny that you said that, because not that long ago I was at the Alta Mesa store, and one of my customers that used to shop at the Watauga store way back when I was the store manager, she was actually in there shopping, and we just kind of reconnected and hit it off as if I was back at the Watauga store running it. And it was so funny, because I've really made a lot of I've made a lot of friends and relationships with the customers, and they're still shopping. I can't believe they're still shopping after all these years.
Do you have any previous or current experience engaging with the community?
I am very involved. So I have an 8-year-old son, and he was diagnosed with autism when he was 3. So I'm really involved with some outside groups that support autism families and things like that. That's kind of where my focus has been outside of work. But recently, before the pandemic, I was actually hoping to get involved with Leadership Fort Worth. And because of the pandemic, that's kind of been put on hold. And then some other things that have kept me busy over the years is I had returned to school to work on completing my bachelor's degree in leadership development. And so I finally was able to accomplish that. As a matter of fact, it was a year ago this June that I was able to finish that. And that was just a personal goal that I've always had, I've always worked on throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally just decided, like I said about a year ago, okay, this is enough. I need to just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And it really was very rewarding. And unbeknownst to me, it was really a big accomplishment, like for my family as well. Like I didn't even, I guess I never imagined or even thought like how big of an impact that was going to make.
Right. Well, congratulations on getting that. My mom jokes that it took her 14 years to get her teaching certificate because she has 3 sons.
Uh-huh.
So I can kind of understand that. You got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, that was a personal goal, and like I said, I was just I was almost tickled that I never, it was just my goal. I never
Mm-hmm.
imagined the impact that was going to have on others, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Why did I wait so long?
That's interesting. So I have 2 points I want to go off of from that. The first, kind of going back to the community aspect of it. Do you think it's important as someone who has a leadership position, but also just someone who is a member of the Fort Worth community, to be involved with those kinds of groups or to get to know your neighbor, essentially?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, just having conversation, you would be so surprised at just how much we learn or we can learn about, the needs in the community. And somehow, just from my experience, it's all kind of tied back to what Goodwill does. Your hope is that, wow, just from that conversation, hopefully we were able to open the door to someone that didn't know about everything that we do here.
Mm-hmm.
So that always feels really good. And so I think it is important that when you are in a leadership role that, it's kind of like that responsibility that you take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think networking is part of that. I tend to get very anxious during networking opportunities, but it is it's amazing how far just like word of mouth will go, especially when you're talking about programs and services like, oh, my son is involved in this program, or, oh, your uncle or aunt is having this issue. Well, we have programs and services that can help fit their specific need.
Yeah, and even you could be connected to a group outside of work. Like for example, my Fort Worth Strong Mom group. They're an amazing group of ladies, and we get together once a month. And some of them have children on the spectrum. Some of them have children with some other type of disability or whatnot. But it's and sometimes the conversation is just I don't know where to go, or I don't know what my child is going to do after school, when they reach that high school level and things like that. And just being able to talk about what we do here at Goodwill, you kind of see the relief on their faces that there are programs and services
Right,
for
because
this population.
it can be overwhelming to try and do that yourself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it goes beyond that, just, even with our veterans program, and especially right now with the youth program, I tend to find myself talking about that one quite a bit, because I think I think people would be shocked to learn how many homeless youth we have. We tend to think that just because they have a roof over their head, we tend to think that that's not homelessness, but a lot of them may just have that, that roof over their head for this week, but they don't know what's coming next week. Or, they're there with their mom camping out at Uncle Johnny's house, or, those kind of different situations. And I want to say over the last 2 years, that seems to come up a lot, just in conversation out in the community.
That's what I think people, when they think of, person-to-person programs and services, they think of like second chance programs. And that's certainly like true for a lot of the things that we do at Goodwill, but sometimes it is like also just first chance, just trying to get your foot in the door for people.
Yes, I agree. And we kind of like to look at it that way, especially for a lot of the a lot of the employees that we hire. A lot of them tend to look like a lot of the clients that we serve. So it definitely is kind of like their first chance, at employment. And, we don't treat them any different. It's your opportunity to grow, to learn. But a lot of the individuals and people that, people, whether we're serving as clients or employees, as you know, from working here now, I'm sure you have seen that a lot of them are very thankful because Goodwill was either a stepping stone, whether it turned into an internal career or a stepping stone just for a stepping stone as far as getting them in the direction that they needed to go.
And then going back to kind of your other point when you were talking about school and these other organizations that you're a part of or other groups, why do you think it's important that to continue learning new skills and improving, your work experience essentially?
Yeah, so I've always been under the mindset that we need to continue our education, so to speak. However, that may look different for different people. I feel that you can never learn too much about leadership and how to lead people. I'm a part of a book club, and every quarter we focus on a different leadership book. And that's just really my passion, leading and then helping others to learn how to develop their own leadership skills. I kind of believe that we all have some level of leadership. It's just a matter of figuring out how to develop it.
So as we're recording this, we are currently in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month. So I do just kind of want to ask, what does it mean to you personally to be a Hispanic woman in a position of leadership?
It's been really awesome. I do have to, I guess I have experienced in many roles, whether it's outside of Goodwill or here at Goodwill. I have seen a lot of change. When I first came to Goodwill, it was, I want to say it was majority male in our leadership roles. And outside of Goodwill, I kind of experienced the same thing. So when I guess at some point in my career, I can't pinpoint exactly how old I was at the time, but at some point in my career, I want to say maybe early 30s, that really started to stick out a lot to me. And I think that's where education and learning really became a powerful tool for me. And just having that and understanding and wanting to build on my skills and improve and continue to learn and develop those leadership skills, I just kind of, I think, envisioned myself being able to do that same job or hold that same role. And And then over the years, it's really diversified now. We have a lot of women here at Goodwill that are in those kind of roles. And then most importantly for me, just kind of being, a Hispanic woman in that role, it really feels pretty good. And I hope that, hopefully I could be an example to others and they can see themselves, or envision themselves in a role, in some type of leadership role. And hopefully I have been able to do that.
Okay. I have two questions, and the first one might embarrass you a little bit. So I would I would encourage you to kind of be honest.
Okay.
Do you see yourself as a role model?
I'm very, as some of my direct reports would say, oh, she's so kind of like downplays her role, I guess is what I hear them say sometimes. I'm not boastful whatsoever, but I think so. And I think that it didn't become, I think it wasn't apparent to me until until I learned how much of an impact I had made on people once I had completed my degree, and they just kind of saw, this woman that just completed this, has this, and is able to juggle her family. I honestly didn't realize that I was a role model or that I was making that much of an impact. But I think after that, I was like, wow, this is pretty rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's good. That's kind of the answer. Put away the humble pie, put it in the fridge for like 2 seconds. How does that feel? Like, you talked about it being kind of shocking to have someone, express these kind words to you, but what does that feel like?
It feels really good. It feels good that, because for a long time I wasn't very pleased. I guess I'll say I wasn't pleased with myself and kind of the curveballs that life threw, and I had to, it seemed like I always put school on the back burner. And so for a long time, I wasn't very pleased with those decisions. But once I overcame that and finished school and realized how big of an impact I have made on different people and continue to make on people, and some of the things they share with me, it's very humbling. I'm very honored, to say the least, that my hard work and overcoming some of the things that I had to juggle and continue to juggle, that I am making an impact. So it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had that success story on Tim Johnson, the donation attendant at White Settlement, a couple weeks back, and he did want me to thank you for being such a good leader in Goodwill.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
He gave me like a whole list of people that he wanted to show his appreciation for, and you were on that list.
Oh wow. See, and that's where I guess it just doesn't cross my mind that I'm going to be on someone's list or someone's mind. So that has been super cool. And it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's a really good feeling. And I definitely can say it's a really good feeling that not even money can buy. How about that?
There you go. That works. What do you think some of the benefits are to having, more sources of representation within, either within leadership, within an organization, our community? What do you think that does when you bring in people from different backgrounds?
It definitely opens the doors, because I believe that a growing company needs to look diversified, because there's so many, there's just so many intelligent people out there from different backgrounds. But I think that individuals are, um, they're kind of almost seeking nowadays an environment where they can sort of let you into their world, I guess is how I want to describe it, meaning that
Mhm.
they want to be able to celebrate their heritage or be recognized for maybe some kind of cultural holiday that's important to them. And I think it's important to be able to have those conversations and learn about different cultures and embrace them and allow other people to celebrate them without feeling, awkward or or shameful, maybe even.
Right. I think there's certainly a bigger conversation you could have about the United States in general. I think a lot of people you've heard like the melting pot of the United States, and like I think that has its purpose, but I also think that it's okay for us to not all be entirely the same. I think I kind of like the tossed salad metaphor a little bit more because it's like you want a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you want a little bit of flavor.
There you go.
um, One of the things that I think a lot of people don't know about me is I am first generation, you know, Mexican American. My family was here visiting other family, and my mom was, pregnant with me. She went into labor. I was born here in Fort Worth, and then from that point on, um, all the family was able to become American citizens.
Mhm.
So I always tease them and tell them they're indebted to me forever.
Huh, that's interesting. Did are you also first generation to get your degree?
No, actually
Okay.
not. One of my brothers has a degree from TCU, and so I would be second, actually.
So how does that affect the lives of your kids? You know, what words of wisdom do you share with them?
It's kind of interesting the way it worked out because a lot of my siblings actually uh, kind of found their career paths and then went back to school to get their degrees. But what that has done for my own children and my nieces and nephews is that's kind of opened the door um, for them to envision themselves as you know professionals and growing up and getting your education and but really making education like the focus point. So now we have some Texas women's degrees, and I have another nephew over at Texas State, and my own son graduated from Tarleton University here in Stephenville.
Okay.
So they're all now, it's just almost like, okay, this is kind of like, you know, it's just what we do. We go to high school, then we go to college.
Mhm.
Um, but it's really cool to kind of watch your family evolve from just hardworking immigrant parents to um, you know proud U.S. citizens and um, living the American dream, so to speak.
All right. Well, I guess my final question is there anybody that you would like to thank or give a shout out to or anything like that?
Um, oh gosh, I feel like yes. Well, number one, again, if there's any of the DGR team that's going to be listening to this, I definitely want to give them a shout out for just weathering the storms. And with David's leadership, we were able to do that. And like I said, he's such a good leader, and because of his encouragement throughout this time, um, he passes, he kind of uh, passes that on to me, and then I pass it on and so forth. But with his leadership, we were really able to weather the storm. And now that we're kind of back in the trenches, um, you know David and the organization just has been very supportive, um, to allowing us the resources to be able to, kind of get back in the groove of things.
Mhm.
So definitely want to give David a shout out. And then, all our supporting departments are amazing. There's no way that we would be able to do what we do without all of our supporting departments. So yeah, just the whole Goodwill family. Thank y'all so much for supporting the DGR department and allowing us to be successful so that we can in turn support uh, you know all the programs and services that we offer.
All right. And I will return the favor by thanking you for all of your hard work in your position. And also thank you for coming on to the show. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been really cool. Thank you for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it.
And that's going to do it for us here today. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, be sure to let us know somewhere on the internet and maybe share the show with a friend. You can follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms to stay up to date on news and events. And if you want more episodes of GoodCast, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find podcasts. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. We will see you in the next episode. Bye.